Hi everyone. I want you to think about something for a moment. How many times have you looked at your life and thought, this can't be all there is? How many times have you felt that deep, quiet voice inside you whispering that you were made for more, capable of more, destined for more? Not because someone else said so, not because social media convinced you, but because somewhere beneath the noise, beneath the disappointments, beneath the routines that have slowly become your prison, there is another version of you waiting to emerge. The truth is that most people spend their entire lives becoming a polished version of who they have always been instead of becoming who they were meant to be. They improve around the edges. They make small adjustments. They learn new skills. They change jobs. They move cities. But deep down, they remain the same person with the same fears, the same excuses, the same limitations, and the same self-imposed boundaries. Transformation is not about changing what you do. It is about changing who you are. That is a difficult truth because it means you can no longer blame your circumstances. You can no longer point fingers at your past. You can no longer wait for the perfect opportunity, the perfect mentor, the perfect timing, or the perfect conditions. If your future is going to look different, then you must become different. And that is where most people stop. Because becoming different is uncomfortable. It requires you to let go of identities that no longer serve you. It requires you to release habits that once felt familiar. It requires you to walk away from excuses that have become part of your personality. Many people say they want change, but what they really want is improvement without discomfort. They want success without sacrifice. They want confidence without challenge. They want growth without pain. Life does not work that way. Every meaningful transformation begins with honesty. Not honesty about the world, honesty about yourself. You have to look in the mirror and ask yourself difficult questions. Where have you been settling? Where have you been hiding? Where have you been pretending that your potential is being held back by something external when the real obstacle is internal? Because the greatest barrier between who you are and who you can become is rarely a lack of resources. It is usually a lack of responsibility. Responsibility is power. The moment you take ownership of your life, everything changes. You stop waiting. You stop complaining. You stop negotiating with your future. You begin acting. You begin building. You begin becoming. There comes a point in every person's life when they must decide whether they will continue to be a product of their environment or become the architect of their destiny. That choice belongs to you, not tomorrow, not next year, not when circumstances improve. Now, every day your habits are casting votes for the person you are becoming. Every excuse strengthens weakness. Every act of discipline strengthens character. Every moment you choose growth over comfort, you are laying another brick in the foundation of a new identity. Many people misunderstand discipline. They think discipline is punishment. They think discipline is restriction. But discipline is freedom. Discipline frees you from the tyranny of your emotions. Because emotions change. Motivation changes. Energy changes. Circumstances change. But disciplined people continue moving forward regardless. They understand that feelings are poor leaders. Feelings can inspire action, but they cannot sustain it. If you only work when you feel inspired, you will spend most of your life standing still. If you only pursue your purpose when conditions are ideal, you will never discover your true capabilities. The people who accomplish extraordinary things are not necessarily more talented than everyone else. They are simply more committed. They have learned to act despite uncertainty. They have learned to move despite fear. They have learned to continue despite discomfort. Fear is one of the greatest thieves of human potential. It convinces people to stay where they are. It tells them that safety is wisdom. It whispers that they should wait until they know more, wait until they have more money, wait until they feel more confident, wait until they are guaranteed success. But life offers no such guarantees. The people who create meaningful lives understand that courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is movement despite fear. And every time you choose courage, you become stronger. Every time you choose growth, you expand your capacity. Every time you refuse to surrender to comfort, you develop the kind of character that can carry greater responsibility. Because purpose is not something you find. Purpose is something you grow into. Many people spend years searching for purpose while avoiding responsibility, but purpose often reveals itself through responsibility. When you become reliable, opportunities appear. When you become disciplined, doors open. When you become trustworthy, influence grows. When you become valuable, people begin seeking your leadership. Leadership is not about titles. Leadership is not about status. Leadership is not about being in charge. Leadership begins with self-mastery. If you cannot lead yourself, you cannot effectively lead others. If you cannot control your habits, your words, your focus, your actions, then external authority means very little. The world does not need more people seeking attention. The world needs more people creating value. People who solve problems. People who serve others. People who build instead of complain. People who take responsibility instead of making excuses. Value creation is one of the most powerful principles you can embrace. The marketplace rewards value. Communities reward value. Relationships reward value. Leadership rewards value. The question is not, what can I get? The question is, what can I contribute? Because the more valuable you become, the more opportunities naturally flow toward you. And becoming valuable requires growth, continuous growth, not occasional growth, not convenient growth, daily growth. There is wisdom in understanding that your life is a stewardship. You have been entrusted with gifts, abilities, opportunities, time, and influence. None of those things were given to be wasted. Every day is an opportunity to develop what has been placed in your hands. Every day is an opportunity to become a better servant of your purpose. There is a higher order woven into life, a design that calls people toward excellence, responsibility, integrity, and service. When you align yourself with those principles, your life gains direction, not because the path becomes easy, but because it becomes meaningful. Meaning changes everything. People can endure extraordinary challenges when they have a reason. People can overcome setbacks when they have a mission. People can rise from failure when they understand that setbacks are not final destinations. Failure is not your identity. Mistakes are not your identity. Your past is not your identity. The person you were yesterday does not have the authority to define the person you can become tomorrow. But there is a price. There is always a price. The price of transformation is letting go of who you have been. The price of growth is discomfort. The price of greatness is discipline. The price of purpose is responsibility. And the question every person must answer is whether they are willing to pay that price. Because the future version of you is waiting on the other side of decisions that you continue postponing. The stronger version, the wiser version, the more disciplined version, the more impactful version. That person is not created in a single breakthrough moment. That person is built through thousands of small choices. Choices made when nobody is watching. Choices made when excuses feel convincing. Choices made when comfort seems attractive. Choices made when nobody is applauding. Choices made when there is no immediate reward. Choices made when progress feels invisible. That is where transformation actually happens, not on the stage. Not in front of an audience, not in moments of recognition. Transformation happens in private. It happens in the early mornings when your mind tells you to stay in bed, but you get up anyway. It happens when you choose preparation over procrastination. It happens when you choose learning over entertainment. It happens when you choose responsibility over excuses. Most people underestimate the power of consistency because consistency looks ordinary. There is nothing glamorous about repeating the right actions day after day. There is nothing exciting about showing up when nobody notices. There is nothing dramatic about making small improvements over long periods of time. Yet that is exactly how extraordinary lives are built. One disciplined decision at a time. One responsible action at a time. One commitment honored at a time. The problem is that modern culture often celebrates outcomes while ignoring the process. People see success but not sacrifice. They see achievement but not discipline. They see confidence but not the years of uncertainty that came before it. They see the finished product but never the construction site. And because they do not see the process, they become discouraged when their own journey feels difficult. But difficulty is not evidence that you are failing. Difficulty is often evidence that you are growing. Muscles grow through resistance. Character grows through adversity. Wisdom grows through experience. Leadership grows through responsibility. You cannot become stronger while avoiding everything that challenges you. The very obstacles you are trying to escape may be the tools shaping you into the person you need to become. Think about that. What if the challenge you are facing right now is not punishment? What if it is preparation? What if the pressure is developing capacity? What if the struggle is building endurance? What if the delay is teaching patience? What if the uncertainty is forcing you to develop faith? Because faith is not merely believing when everything makes sense. Faith is continuing forward when clarity has not yet arrived. Faith is trusting that your efforts matter even when results have not appeared. Faith is planting seeds today that you may not see bloom for months or years. Many people quit because they demand immediate evidence. They want proof before commitment. They want certainty before action. They want guarantees before effort. Life rarely operates on those terms. The people who make the greatest impact learn how to move before they feel ready. They understand that readiness is often created through action. Confidence does not usually come first. Action comes first. Then confidence follows. Strength follows. Experience follows. Growth follows. Waiting to feel ready can become one of the most sophisticated forms of procrastination. You tell yourself you are preparing. You tell yourself you are thinking. You tell yourself you are planning. But deep down, fear is making the decisions. Fear disguises itself in logical language. It sounds reasonable. It sounds cautious. It sounds responsible. But if you listen carefully, fear often asks you to stay exactly where you are. Growth asks something different. Growth asks you to step forward. Growth asks you to risk failure. Growth asks you to embrace uncertainty. Growth asks you to become a beginner again. And that can be humbling. Many people would rather remain competent in a small world than become inexperienced in a larger one. Their ego prefers familiarity. Their pride prefers comfort. Their insecurity prefers predictability. But every new level requires a new version of you. The skills that got you here may not be the skills that take you there. The mindset that served you yesterday may limit you tomorrow. The habits that once felt sufficient may become obstacles to your future. That means growth requires continual reinvention, not pretending to be someone else, not abandoning your values, not chasing trends, but constantly refining your character, expanding your capacity, and elevating your standards. Standards determine direction. What you tolerate eventually becomes your reality. If you tolerate mediocrity, mediocrity becomes normal. If you tolerate excuses, excuses become habits. If you tolerate laziness, laziness becomes identity. But when your standards rise, your behavior begins to rise with them. You start expecting more from yourself. You stop making agreements with weakness. You stop negotiating with distraction. You stop rewarding the behaviors that keep you trapped. And something powerful happens. You begin developing self-respect. Self-respect is earned. It grows every time. You keep a promise to yourself. Every time you do what you said you would do. Every time you choose integrity when compromise would be easier. Every time you remain committed when quitting would feel more comfortable. The relationship you have with yourself affects every other area of your life. If you cannot trust yourself, confidence becomes difficult. If you constantly betray your own commitments, belief in yourself begins to erode. But when you consistently honor your word, even in small matters, you create an internal foundation that cannot easily be shaken. You begin walking differently, speaking differently, thinking differently, not because you are pretending, but because your actions have provided evidence. Evidence that you can be trusted, evidence that you can endure, evidence that you can grow, evidence that you can handle greater responsibility. And responsibility is one of the clearest signs of maturity. Immature people seek privileges. Mature people seek responsibility. Immature people ask what life owes them. Mature people ask what they owe life. Immature people consume. Mature people contribute. The world changes when enough people embrace that mindset. Communities improve when individuals take ownership. Families become stronger when people lead through service. Organizations thrive when people focus on value rather than recognition. Influence expands when character deepens. The strongest leaders understand something that many people miss. Leadership is not about being followed. Leadership is about being worth following. That worth is built through consistency, through integrity, through sacrifice, through courage, through service. People trust what they repeatedly observe, not what they occasionally hear, not what they temporarily see. Trust is built through patterns, and your daily patterns are revealing the future you are creating. Every repeated action is writing your story. Every habit is shaping your destiny. Every decision is constructing either a stronger version of yourself or a weaker one. You cannot repeatedly choose comfort and expect strength. You cannot repeatedly choose distraction and expect focus. You cannot repeatedly choose excuses and expect excellence. At some point, reality collects the results of your choices. That is why accountability is so important. Accountability is not punishment. Accountability is alignment. It is the willingness to accept that outcomes have causes. It is the courage to examine your own role in your circumstances. It is the humility to stop blaming and start building. When you embrace accountability, you stop seeing yourself as a victim of life. You start seeing yourself as a participant in its creation. That shift changes everything. Because victims wait, builders act. Victims focus on limitations. Builders focus on possibilities. Victims search for reasons. Builders search for solutions. And every day you are choosing which mindset will govern your future. There are people listening right now who know they have been playing small. You know there are conversations you need to have, decisions you need to make, habits you need to break, standards you need to raise. You know there are dreams you have delayed because fear convinced you that failure would be unbearable. But what if the greater tragedy is not failing? What if the greater tragedy is spending years wondering what might have happened if you had trusted your potential enough to step forward? Because deep inside you already know that comfort has been costing you more than challenge ever could. You already know that some doors will never open until you become the person capable of walking through them. You already know that growth is calling you toward a higher level of discipline, a higher level of character, a higher level of service, and a higher level of commitment. The question is whether you are willing to answer that call when it requires more than inspiration, when it requires sacrifice, when it requires patience, when it requires persistence, when it requires you to keep moving forward even when the results remain hidden beneath the surface, like roots growing deep before a tree ever breaks through the ground. Because sometimes the most important work happening in your life is the work that nobody can yet see. And while others may believe nothing is changing, there is a process unfolding within you that is preparing you for responsibilities, opportunities, and challenges that you cannot yet fully understand. The truth is that preparation often looks ordinary while it is happening. No one applauds the seed while it is buried beneath the soil. No one celebrates the foundation while it is hidden beneath the building. No one notices the countless hours of growth that occur before visible success arrives. But hidden growth is still growth, and your responsibility is not to obsess over what everyone else can see. Your responsibility is to continue becoming, continue learning, continue improving, continue building, continue showing up, because the person you are becoming matters more than the circumstances you are currently facing. Circumstances change. Markets change, opportunities change, people change, but character travels with you everywhere. Character becomes your greatest asset. It determines how you respond to pressure, how you handle success, how you navigate failure, how you serve others, how you fulfill your purpose. There will always be people who doubt you, people who misunderstand your vision, people who question your decisions, people who cannot see what you see. Do not allow their limitations to become your boundaries. Every significant achievement in history began as something that others could not yet understand. Vision always sees farther than the crowd. That is why you must learn to trust the process even when the path is unclear. The future belongs to those who remain faithful to their mission long after. Excitement disappears. Anyone can start. Few continue. Anyone can dream. Few execute. Anyone can talk about change. few become the change. And that is where your opportunity exists. Not in doing what everyone else is doing, not in following the crowd, not in settling for average. Your opportunity exists in making the decisions that most people avoid. The difficult decisions, the disciplined decisions, the courageous decisions, the decisions that align your daily actions with your highest values. Because one day, the life you are creating will no longer be a vision. It will be your reality. The habits you choose today will become the results you live tomorrow. The mindset you cultivate today will become the opportunities you attract tomorrow. The discipline you develop today will become the strength you depend on tomorrow. And when that day comes, you will realize that transformation was never about becoming someone else. It was about becoming who you were always capable of being. It was about removing the excuses, removing the fear, removing the limitations, removing the stories that convinced you to play small. You were never created to spend your life hiding your gifts. You were never meant to live beneath your potential. You were never called to surrender your future to comfort, laziness, or fear. There is greatness within you that demands action. There is purpose within you that demands responsibility. There is potential within you that demands development. And every day you delay stepping into that calling is another day your future waits for your decision. So make the decision, not someday, today. Choose discipline over distraction. Choose responsibility over excuses. Choose growth over comfort. Choose purpose over convenience. Choose action over fear. Stand up and take ownership of your life. Raise your standards. Strengthen your character. Honor your commitments. Lead yourself with integrity. Serve others with excellence. Build something meaningful. Create. Value wherever you go. Become the kind of person whose presence makes every room stronger, every team better, every community healthier, and every challenge smaller. Because the world does not need another person waiting for permission. The world needs people who are willing to rise, people who are willing to lead, people who are willing to transform themselves first and then inspire transformation in others. And I want you to remember this when you leave here today. Your past does not define you. Your mistakes do not define you. Your fears do not define you. Your circumstances do not define you. Your choices define you. And beginning today, you have the power to make choices that can alter the direction of your entire life. Years from now, you can look back at this moment as the day you stopped settling, the day you stopped making excuses, the day you stopped waiting, the day you chose to become more. Because everything you want is on the other side of the person you must become. So, walk forward with courage, walk forward with faith, walk forward with discipline, walk forward with purpose. Trust the process, trust the work, trust the growth that is happening within you. Your future is not waiting to be discovered. Your future is waiting to be created. Now go forward with confidence, determination, and unwavering belief in what you are capable of achieving. Good luck on your journey. May your efforts be rewarded, your character be strengthened, and your purpose become clearer with every step you take. Thank you for your time, thank you for your attention, and most importantly, thank you for making the decision to invest in the person you are becoming. The next chapter of your life is waiting. Go write a story that makes all your doubts regret ever standing in your way.